Hi everybody, for all those preparing for their SPR exam, my tip is, as the acronym, pass the SPR, so PASS. What do I mean by that? For the P bit, the first and most important thing is the positive attitude. It's very important to make sure you don't focus on the things you don't know. You need to make sure that you are in your mindset positive, look at the things that you can do because there will be challenging elements in this exam. The other P as well for me is the practice platform. Remember, the exam is on a computer, it's on the practice platform. There are many questions on there to practice. Make sure you are better at that. The ACCA says you have a 14% chance of passing, better if you work on that platform. The A bit for me are the accounting standards. There are 23 accounting standards, both SBR and FR. Make sure you at least do the summary so you can start the question at least. In terms of the S bit for me is the scenarios. Remember, you apply the scenarios. Remember in section B where you have accounting standards, it's in a scenario, case study, right from the scenario. Remember, the marks are knowledge and then applying the scenario. Make sure you keep that in mind. The final S for me is being able to do your study, the way you manage your studies in these days. When you're studying, make sure you're doing questions to time. You have approximately 2 minutes per mark. You're doing a 30-mark question, you got only 60 minutes to do that. Also remember, when you're doing that, you are revising and studying all the past questions that I've done with you, the recent ones, especially after September 18. Keeping in mind while you're studying, don't ignore the current issues as well, especially topics like sustainability, climate change, digital assets and accounting for that. All in all, please remember to be relaxed, remember to finish all the 4 questions and keep a positive mindset. Look forward to seeing you all smiling and happy, and good luck with the exam.
Hello everyone, I am Rona and I'm here to tell you a few things before your SBL exam. Now, 4 hours seems like a long time, but it's going to go by very, very fast in the exam. So when you're reading the scenario, make sure that you read it only once. So if you want to keep notes, put that information on the scratch pad, go ahead and do it. You don't want to keep coming back and reading the scenario over and over again. When you're reading the requirement, you want to get this right, because if you interpret the requirement incorrectly, the entire answer is going to be incorrect. So take some time to understand what the requirement is and also pay attention to the professional skill mark. Do remember that every scenario is going to be different, and the objective is to be as realistic as possible when you're going ahead and giving your answer. Every point you're making, make sure that you link it back to the company that is in question. There are no marks available for only knowledge areas. So always link your point back to the company. A few things to remember is pay attention to the formats. If you don't remember the formats, go ahead and take a look at the formats. There is an article about all of these formats, so just go ahead and do that. And if there is any area that you're not very sure of, go ahead and read a few of the technical articles as well. Be sure to do a question paper before the exam. You don't want the exam to be the first time that you're doing a 4-hour test. So good luck, and I hope you all do really, really well.
Hi everyone, this is Vignesh from Phoenix, here to share some final words of advice relevant to the upcoming APM September 2022 examination, which some of you might be going to take very, very soon. Yes, this is the first time that the exam's being tested in a new format. There are 2 major changes. 1, the introduction of 20 professional marks, and 2, the introduction of embedded requirements into every single question in the exam. There are 3 pieces of advice I would leave you with as you are in the final leg of your preparation. 1, make sure you spend the rest of the time that you have practicing loads of past exam questions. It's one thing to know the knowledge, but it's a completely different ball game in APM. You need to know how to apply models, concepts, ideas, and the best source for that is to use past exam questions. And given the nature of APM, question practice is definitely where you should be spending your time. And where possible, please do try the questions under time conditions, because you will then get to see how much you're able to write and how well you're able to come up with your points. Second, when you're writing up your answers, do make sure you're bringing in loads of scenario-specific examples. This has become even more important with the introduction of the professional marks in the examination. Gaining credit for aspects like commercial acumen is driven by how well you use the scenario information. The third and final bit of advice, which is quite obvious, is make sure you're aware of what gets you the professional marks. Those of you who've been attending the revision classes of Phoenix, you would appreciate we've done quite a bit of work trying to understand what gets you the professional marks. What does commercial acumen mean? Or how do you exhibit skepticism within an answer? So be aware of it, but remember, you don't need to get over obsessed with it. The key is doing a good, well-rounded, a complete, professionally looking answer that will automatically bring along with it the professional marks. If you do a really good answer, you are going to gain the analysis and communication marks. You are going to bring in good examples and gain the commercial acumen marks. You are going to do an objective analysis, think of the pros and the cons, and thereby also get the marks for skepticism. So with that, I leave you with my best wishes for your exams, and I hope it goes really, really well.
Hi guys, in this video we're going to be going through the Advanced Audit and Assurance exam tips, and this is a big one. Why? Because we've got that 20 professional mark change, and that's basically what we really need to focus on when it comes to the exam tips. Now remember guys, 80% of the exam is still technical. Any part of the syllabus can be tested. However guys, we know what is definitely going to be tested. So I want everyone, when you are practicing questions, when you're reviewing answers, when you're doing your final notes check, focus on what we know is coming. Audit risks or business risks, so focus on risks in general. Being able to write proper procedures, practice that as much as you can. Ethics, know your rules. Know what are the rules, guys, if it's a listed company, or the rules if it's not a listed company. So you need to know your rules very, very well, because ethics will be tested in the exam. Then we have our completion questions. So all of that is part of our question number 1 in section A. We have our completion question in section B, which again, risk, standards, evidence, procedures, reporting. How do I write an opinion impact? So you need to go through all of the steps. So is it a material misstatement? Are you unable to get evidence? Write the reasons and then go on and say what kind of report it is, qualified or non-qualified. The third question is usually the weird one. Not weird, but it's the one that we're not quite sure what it's going to be. But in a lot of cases, guys, it's quality control or other assurance services. So practice questions on that, guys. But at the end of the day, guys, the majority of the marks that you're gonna get is gonna be based on the things that we know is coming. Do not get scared. Do not freak out in the exam because you see something that you have never practiced on, such as, I don't know, money laundering or tendering or advertising or a rule that you've never seen. It's okay. It's probably going to be around, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 marks. It's not the end of the world. You can definitely pass without that. Focus on the things that you can do. Let's do audit risks really well. Let's write some good procedures, and that's going to make us pass the exam. Now let's talk a little bit about the professional marks. Now the professional marks are 20 marks, and usually what I say is that this doesn't make the exam any easier or any harder. This makes the exam more manageable, because you have 3 hours 15 minutes to write an answer for 80 marks. No longer 100 marks, but just 80 marks. So focus on writing a proper answer. If you have good technical knowledge, honestly guys, you will automatically get the professional marks, because if you know your stuff, then you're not going to write things that are not required. You're probably going to write the right answer in a good structure. So go through the specimen paper, go through what is written in the marking guides for the professional marks, and get some guidance of that. And practice, guys. At the end of the day, practicing is the most important thing. And relax, guys. Relax before the exam. Inshallah, you're going to do really, really well, and good luck.
Hi everyone, this is Vignesh from Phoenix, here to share some final words of advice related to the September 2022 Advanced Financial Management exam, which many of you will be preparing for and taking very, very soon. This is the first time that professional marks are being introduced into the option level exams, including AFM. So you will be going into an exam where you need to produce an answer for 80 technical marks and 20 professional marks. There are 3 pieces of advice I would leave you with as you are in your final stage of your preparation. Number 1, make sure you're thorough with the key areas, the core areas in AFM, such as investment appraisal, mergers and acquisitions, risk management, and Black-Scholes option pricing. So if you are good with these areas, it is likely that you will find majority of the exam doable. The last few days of prep are probably best spent doing a question of each type, whether it be APV, foreign NPV, maybe a bond valuation question, a little bit on risk adjusted WACC. So try to do questions in these areas so you're fairly comfortable going into the examination. The second thing I would ask you to do is to leave time for at least 2 full mocks. Now that could be a mock you do now and then probably a few days before the exam. The advantage of doing a mock is you get to understand how well you are doing when you are under time pressure, which is a massive constraint in AFM. The third and final thing that I would leave you with is advice I would leave you with is to ensure you're focusing on both the discussion as well as the numerical elements. This is a common problem in AFM when candidates focus far too much on either the numerical elements or the discussion elements, and the examiner's report and the examining team have consistently said that to pass the exam you need equal emphasis on discussion and numerical elements. With the introduction of the professional marks, the completion or making an attempt on the discussion elements has become even more important. So while you practice and in the exam, make sure you leave yourself enough time for the discussion elements alongside the numbers. So I hope your preparation goes really, really well and your exam goes even better. Good luck.